Happy December 1st, Ken McCalvary, Jazz Vinyl Audiophile, to talk a little bit about a record I am admittedly very late to, Pharoah, originally on Indian Navigation, re-released by Yale at Luaka Bop. I am very lucky to have lunch occasionally with a renowned set of audiophiles and musicians and technicians and otherwise brilliant people on Fridays, headed up by Steve Gutenberg, the audiophiliac. And there I met Yale, who runs Luaka Bop Records. We also have a turntable setup guru, the spin doctor, Michael Trey, and occasionally Miguel Barrio, a physicist who also is very knowledgeable about high-end audio, and Mark Maloof, an engineer here in town, and an evolving cast of folks who come to lunch on Fridays. So I was able to, I asked Yale for a copy of this, but I really didn't know anything about it. I'm more familiar with the early 70s records by Pharoah Sanders, such as Karma and Taoud. Is that how you say it? But I was really pleasantly surprised. This is an amazing record. Actually, 3 records. The original recording, 1977, of Harvest. It has a wonderful one on the cover of the box set. It also shares the image. It is a box set, and on the cover has this beautiful, all this is embossed. It's like branches, it's embossed, it's very beautiful. Then on the back, we have a photo of the performing band, including Pharoah Sanders, and oddly, Clifford Jarvis, the drummer who, drummer Billy Drummond may be more aware of, who plays on a number of Blue Note records in a very hard bop tradition. So it's interesting to hear him on this record, or the 2 records where he's really great. But before we get into the studio version and the live version, side 1 and side 2, this box set comes with wonderful liner notes by a variety of people, including the guitarist on the original session. And they're just, great photographs. Shows where it was recorded at the original Indian Navigation studio, which I believe was upstate here in New York. It even shows you the letters between Pharoah Sanders and Bob Cummins, who ran the original Indian Navigation label. When I first started working at Jazz Record Center in the early 90s, as I say many, many times, we still had original Indian Navigation records. Now we see none of those, and they're slowly being reissued. Kind of a spiritual jazz label, I guess. Interesting. Anyway, very in-depth. You have a letter from Bob Cummins to Pharoah saying, basically, I can no longer record as you'd like me to record. Please come in, we'll try to find some way to make you happy about this record. Then a response, I believe it's a response from Pharoah saying, this particular man is no longer my attorney. Please direct all correspondence to a P.O. box in Brooklyn. Apparently, Pharoah was not happy with this record. At least that's the impression I get. And elsewhere, we have great photos. Photo of Pharoah with his then wife, who also plays harmonium, which is a big part of the sound on the original record. An interview with guitarist Tajiz Monouz, who's also a big part of the original recording. Liner notes by Clifton Jiggs Chase, the organist on Pharoah, this album, and some really insightful essays. The first essay by the original introduction to Pharoah is by Yale from Luaka Bop. Then the actual opening liner notes, Pharoah Sanders Breathe Fire Through the Instrument by Marcus J. Moore, points out Pharoah's evolving career up to the fact that after this record, he made a record in '77, Love Will Find a Way, opting for the Quiet Storm format. He had vocals by Phyllis Hyman. So he wasn't afraid of being commercial, if you want to call it that. But what's amazing about these 2 records is really his essential personality is the driving force behind all of it, as a great artist would be. And it includes, the box set includes, I was really surprised when I got this because it came with all these beautiful tchotchkes. A review of a show from a newspaper, postcards. I don't know what this is. The original sheet music, The Harvest Time. That's a great shot. Looks like contact sheets from a recording session. An amazing reproduction of a gig poster. You're getting your money's worth out of this set. Oh, a little smaller package of individual photos. That is really beautiful. Man, it's always amazing to see how record labels doing reissues find ways, they're not purposely looking to one-up each other, but creative labels find creative ways to come up with new things, and they aren't afraid to spend the money to do it. I think about New Land Records and their incredible packaging and their archival news clippings and photographs on the Dorothy Ashby box set, and this is equally stunning in the amount of things they include before you even get to the music. So Pharoah Sanders, Pharoah from 1977. Side 1 is the track Harvest Time. Side 2, Love Will Find a Way and Memories of Edith Johnson. Harvest Time is a very simple motif of a sort of watery, what sounds like a wah-wah electric guitar with a very strong bass signature over it, and Pharoah stating this very, for lack of a better word, meditative melodic phrase, and it evolves and it evolves and the group evolves, and there's a wonderful bass solo over it, and it rises and it falls, but it's very meditative. It's very, for lack of a better word, spiritual, but I think that's why when this came out, it really tapped a fuse among a lot of people, because it's an impossible record to find, and it's a very beautiful record. Harvest Time in particular is very beautiful. It just kind of takes you away. It's very meditative. It's very calming. It's a really amazing track. Side 2, Love Will Find a Way. Love Will Find a Way, that track, which is Pharoah singing, if you can call it that. It's more like Pharoah screaming or jive talking, even though it's not. Really, that song sounds to me like Minnie Riperton's Loving You. Just the phrasing of Pharoah's vocal, the impression it gives, even though this song, Love Will Find a Way, is kind of noisy and combustible, it kind of reminds me of that. Then Memories of Edith Johnson is also very spiritual. Edith Johnson was Pharoah's aunt, apparently. So this is a beautiful record. Pharoah Sanders, tenor saxophone, percussion vocals, Bedria Sanders, harmonium. Now the harmonium is also a big part of the sound of Harvest Time, the way it just unfurls, and it very much sounds like an Indian instrument, sort of the droning thing that kind of captures you and leaves you sort of bobbing on the ocean. That's the feeling it gives me. You're just sort of caught up in this thing and lost and floating with it. It's cosmic, man. It's the only word you can say. Steve Neal on bass, Tajil Muniz on guitar, Greg Bandy on drums on this record, Clifton Chase keyboard, and Lawrence Killian percussion. Recorded August and September 1976. Produced by Bob Cummins for Indian Navigation. Mastered by Chris Bellman. And it's a beautiful recording. My copy was flawless. Pharoah Sanders' Harvest Time live 1977 documents 2 different concerts. Recorded live at Jazz Mittelheim, August 1977, and at Jazz Festival Willisaw, August 1977. So it's a European tour, and totally different instrumentation, different players, but the essence of the melody and that ability to sort of be very calming, meditative stays the same, which you owe really, because the players are interpreting it far differently than the original version. The players being Hayes Burnett, bass percussion, Clifford Jarvis on drums, Harold Moss, piano, electric piano. I've never heard of, rather, Khalid Moss, but he's a very grandiose player. Beautiful chords, amazing runs, sort of like a more celestial version of McCoy Tyner almost. And I've never heard of this guy. Clifford Jarvis, of course, played on quite a few Blue Note sides, and he's really great here. He takes more of an Afro-Cuban approach. Harvest Time live from Mittelheim is 18 minutes long, and it rises and falls, and there are halfway through is a break where it's just Pharoah playing, and it's very eruptive, from meditative to screaming to a squall, then back again, but that essence of that meditative recurring motif is still there. Great bass solo. The version on side 2 is faster. It starts out with Pharoah playing the melody and the band falling in, and it's quite a bit faster. And as I said, Clifford Jarvis plays more of an African thing, Afro-Cuban thing, so it's more excitable, but the feeling is the same. It's a really beautiful record. I would think if you're at all open to what we call spiritual jazz now, what was once called new thing, free jazz, this sort of falls in under all of that, but it's much more, it's very calming and very engrossing and engaging, and really has the ability to pull you in. And the audio is fine. So a really easy recommendation. Be one hell of a Christmas stocking stuffer. Get it for your jazz fan at home. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your likes and thumbs up. Have a great weekend, kids.